Hey guys, so I was thinking, actually looking back on 2025. We're halfway through October. There's 2 months left, and I was doing some journaling coming back from Vegas at the Olympia, which was amazing, by the way. And I was just taking sort of an inventory of how 225 or 2025 was for me so far. And I knew it was a busy year, and I knew there was a lot of things going on, and I knew I was getting a lot of things done. But you know what? Sometimes when you take a few minutes, calm everything down, and you start putting stuff down on paper, writing things out, and you start creating the list of things that are good, or the list of things that you want to change, or the list of things that are bad, or whatever it is, whatever you want to focus on. Take some time and just start writing things out. I wanted to see, just what happened in 2025 for me. 2025 was one of the best years I've had, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, with having to change business, with being sued by a fucking toxic ex-partner, going bankrupt, moving my personal training business, rebuilding my personal training business, building our online coaching. 23 and 24 were tough. They were tough because there was a lot going on. They were tough because there were some tough decisions that had to be made. And at the same time, maintaining sobriety, at the same time, trying to control and my physique and stuff. Because in the past, when things went sideways, everything went sideways. So my food would go really bad. I would gain weight. I would get upset. I would get depressed. I would get angry. And I knew going into the 23-24 year that I couldn't let the crazy amount of pressure that was going on lead me down that path again. There was just no way. So I fought like hell. Sobriety was good, 11 years now. That was excellent. But at the same time, I really worked hard to keep my physique in check. Yes, it drifted a bit. I got, back into the 300 a little bit, 310, 315, 320, and it was stress eating. It was, just wanting to feel good and stuff. So when I came into 2025, one of the things I did, and I write it on the top of my journal from the very first day, is Curd 3.0, day one. And as I was writing that down as part of the title of my journal entry every day, I started to think about, well, what is it that I'm going to do? What is it I'm going to achieve? And what is it I'm going to do and plan and set up to create the environment that I achieve that? So I said, well, I'm going to start competing again. I hadn't competed in the bench press in a long time. I'd lost a bunch of weight. Yeah, my bench overall went is, from 585 close to 600 pound bench when I was 390, almost 400 pounds. Great bench, very poor me. So I set up a goal for myself. I wanted to break 600 pounds, 500 pounds. Sorry, I wanted to break back into the 500-pound bench press under 300 pounds. So I started to work on that. So in January, I competed and I came close. I think I came with a 478 or something. And I was 292 or something like that. Then I set my sights on April. And then I brought my weight down and I got down into the low 290s, 280s. I was trying to break 275. And I think I finished there with I want to say a 486 or a 470, 480 in the 480s. Good. Missed the 500s in each one. Missed that 501 in each one. Then this last meet coming up in September, I said, you know what? I want to bench under 275 pounds. So I started cutting into that in the 290s, and I did a big cut. I did a big calorie deficit. I threw a little extra cardio in, and I just really worked really hard. So on weigh-in day, I hit 274 and change. So the lightest I've ever competed in that I can remember in 25 plus years. Even when I was coming up in the early 90s competing, I think I was over 275. And it was a good meet. It was a bench only meet that we ran through our PS, and had some struggles, some issues on the platform itself, just some technical stuff I was running into, which I never ran into before, which was crazy. And I ended up finishing with a 489, 490, and I missed the 501. And I got it to just about the point where I can finish a lockout, and I couldn't get it. I was upset because I didn't get that. And I really wanted to break 501. I felt this was the time I was going to do it, and especially at the low, under 275 pounds. I was really hitting some benchmarks. So all that being said, it was successful. It was good. But some other priorities that I put out there, some other goals that I put out there was I wanted to keep getting leaner. I wanted to keep building the business, and we were hitting all those things. And then we had the Nashville trip, a big family trip to Nashville, and that was a huge undertaking, right? Just because it's a big trip, and we were saving money for it, and we were able to do it. And we had a phenomenal time, but I also was at one of the best shapes of my life going into it in the 280s. And that was exciting. The best version of me did a very cool fucking trip. And you know what? I enjoyed it to the much higher level because I was operating at a much higher level. That was what was fantastic. The experience was that much better than any trip I've done because I was that much better. And that was in August. And then I decided I've been wanting to go to the Olympia bodybuilding show. So those of you who don't follow it, it's the World Series of bodybuilding. It is the greatest, the biggest. Arnold won it 8 times. Lee Haney won it 8 times. Some other amazing guys have won it 5 and 6 times. The best of the best, the biggest, the most jacked, the most just best of the best show up at this event. And it was an expo. It's always an expo. So all kinds of companies and events and things going on. It's a fucking blast. And I'd always found reasons that I couldn't go. Now, when I was fat and broken, of course I didn't want to go. I wanted to go, but I didn't want to show up with that version of me, right? But then over the last couple of years, when I was having to rebuild everything, I really wanted to go, but I just couldn't put the finances together. I had too much to deal with. And then this year when it came up, we just finished Nashville in August, and then we saw it was coming up in October. So I sat there and I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. I said I was going to do it. I said I always wanted to do it. And then I realized that whenever I put my mind to something, it's going to get done. So I said, fuck it. I'm doing it. I committed to it. And I made it happen. Now, obviously, I had to make sure that I could come up with the money with it. Again, big trip in August. I still have bills to pay. I'm rebuilding everything. But I said, you know what? I'm going to make it happen. And I set up to make it happen. So I found the cheapest airline ticket I could. I got there for $390 return. That meant I had to fly from Ottawa to Winnipeg to Vancouver to Vegas, because that was the cheapest way, and fly back the same way. Did it take more time? Absolutely, right? Would it have been much easier to go fly direct? Absolutely, but it would have cost me a lot more, right? And I really wanted to do this trip, and I was going to make sure I could afford it. The second thing I did is I booked us a hotel in Vegas, in the Strip, but the cheapest one I could find. Circus, a fucking shithole, right? It's like, Vanier on steroids. It was just loud. It was spread out. The walls were paper thin. Just not in a great neighborhood, in the right part, but just off to the side were some sketchy areas, right? But it was cheap, and all I needed was a place I could lay my head that was clean and safe, and I'd be okay, walking around. It was just me going. It wasn't me and the kids. It wasn't me and the wife and stuff. One of the other coaches from the gym came with me, and I said, you know what? We'll be fine. So made that happen. Then I got the Expo Pass. The Expo Pass, I would have loved to gone to the finals, but the finals, the tickets were $400 to $500 US. I can't afford that right now. The exchange rate right now is 45%, right? So I said, you know what? I'll go to the Expo, the 2-day Expo. It was $85 US. And I said, I'm going to meet everybody. I'm going to see everybody. I'm going to be around the action. The finals happen in a different spot anyway, but all the prejudging happens there. And again, I was just bound and determined that I was going to go. I was no longer going to make an excuse. And you know what? Once I put my mind to it, I made it happen. Once I put my mind to it, right, I focused on it, got a couple extra sales, did a little extra hustle and stuff. I just did a better job of doing a better job with the business, right? And I made it happen. And I covered it all, which was fantastic. Here's the other cool thing. I went in saying I also want to get in better shape, even better than I was for Nashville. So I just dialed it in. I focused and trained. I ate tighter and stuff like that. And I was about 296 just before I decided to start to make it work and stuff, to focus for this meet, which was still good, getting leaner overall. But I said, I really want to dial it in. So I said, we're going to train. We're going to focus. We're going to eat the right meals. We're going to do everything I'm supposed to do. Now I had a nice purpose, a bigger purpose. And then when I flew and left, and the morning I left, I weighed in at 285 pounds. Now, I had done the cut to 274 for the meet, but that was kind of like a stringier, just get the calories, get the scale down no matter what. This 285 was a fuller, thicker, arms were good, chest was thick. Like, I felt really good. The best I've ever looked walking around anywhere. And then I hit it. And man, we saw it. We went. I hit some cool fucking gyms. I trained at some really crazy gyms. I met some amazing athletes. I met Phil Heath, multi Mr. Olympia. At the expo, I met a whole bunch of Olympia guys. I met a whole bunch of guys that I've been following. Jocko Willink, I met there. Michael Hearn. Michael Hearn, really cool story. If you follow me, you saw I did it before and after. I met Michael Hearn over 5 years ago at the Arnold Classic in the 398th stage of my life. Got a picture with him. Got up on stage with him this time at 285 pounds. And not only did I take a picture with him, I showed him the last time I met him what I looked like and what I look like now at 57. He was fucking blown away. He took his phone and did a shout out and stuff. Like, that was really, really cool. And that to me was really important because I really wanted to validate and show just how much I've changed over the last 5 years. And this was something I was really looking forward to, right? To show the difference, walk the walk, and make it happen. And then it just a lot of great things happen. Man, we walked 20 to 24,000 steps. That's like 17 to 19 kilometers a day. My legs were on fire, but we trained at different gyms. We trained once to twice a day. We did some cool shit. There was an outdoor gym from Dragon's Lair that had the new Arsenal equipment that nobody has seen. We got a chance to use it. It was phenomenal. It was beautiful. We were training with people from all over the world. We were having conversations. It was amazing. Then we're in Vegas, so we're on the strip at night and we're walking around where the energy is. Went to Fremont Street, right, where the music is live and people there. And you know what? It felt great. I felt great. I looked jacked. I felt like I couldn't have been more proud of myself for so many reasons. So when I was flying back Sunday at the airport, Mateo, one of the coaches that came with me, his flight was at 10 a.m. My flight was only at 3:30 in the afternoon. But I said, hey, I'll go in with you in the airport in the morning. We'll share the ride and stuff. I got to be out of the hotel room by 10 or 11 anyway. And I was Vegased out. So spending the day in Vegas doing some other stuff, I was good. So I got to the airport, got there for 8 a.m. And I just hung out and pulled out my journal. And I read and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote about what I experienced. I wrote about what was the cool stuff that was happening. And that's where I sat down and took an inventory of what 2025 was. And then when I wrote it out and I started to look at it on paper, all the things that happened, all the things that I achieved, from the physique, from the mindset, from the events, the competitions, not only competing, but running some, two of the events, getting back into that, the trips, and just the things I experienced at this better version of me, right? It was phenomenal. And I remember walking around at the Arnold's, and at the Olympia going, I want to do better. I'm inspired by these athletes. I saw a lot of older guys walking around in great shape. I saw a lot of older guys walking around in bad shape that wanted to be in good shape. I had some conversations and stuff. It was really, really just empowering, right? And I sat there and I was looking around. I said, I know I can do better. I want to come back leaner. I want to come back. I said my top three things. One was triceps bigger, traps bigger, so they pop more, and just leaner, and just keep continuing the journey of being better. But not just better for me, but better in my coaching, better in how I help other men and women. Like, I really, really had this emotional, I don't want to say epiphany because I've gone beyond that. I just had this emotional update as to where I'm at, what I'm doing, how it's affecting others, right? How I'm helping others. But most of all, how I'm starting to thrive at a level. And you know what? One night I sat there and I got a little bit into why didn't I do this 20 years ago? Why didn't I do this 30 years ago? Imagine if I'd have been this version of me in my 30s and in 40s, what I could have achieved where I'd be now. And it's true. Things would have been different if I was different, but I wasn't. So it's not about dwelling in the past, but it's also about appreciating, right, where I was and what I've achieved. Now, what's really cool, at 57 years old, I have so much more knowledge, I have so much more experience. Whatever I do, I can do it at an accelerated level because I bring more tools to the table. I bring more resources to the table. I bring more knowledge to the table. I'm cagier, I'm wiser. I've got, I've got more access to things now that I've acquired over the last 20 or 30 years, right? So now I'm able to take things faster and further. It's even more important now that I sit down and plan things out more. Where is it I want to go with my physique? Where is it I want to go with my clientele? Where do I want to go with my brand and the clothing and the accessories and the meats? Because I want to keep doing all those things to a higher level because I love doing them. And I love being the better version of me doing these. And the better version of me that exists and happens and ascends, everything around me is going to improve to even higher levels, from my relationships with my family and my friends and the team I work with, right? To just how I care and love myself and appreciate what I've done and live better in the moment than ever before. And you know what? Being in my late 50s, I'm going to appreciate things a lot more because I'm in my late 50s, right? Because I've got life experience. I've been through things. I've been through hell and back. So when I see good things, I appreciate good things. I want more good things, right? And I'm not talking about expensive cars and stuff, although a couple more motorcycles would be nice. I'm thinking about doing great things, things that I really want to do, spend my time doing things that are my purpose, right? And living in the moment and working hard, but then reaping the benefits of just being a better version. And that's really what the Silverback program is all about. That's really about what my purpose is bring myself to the highest level as possible so I can do things at the highest level possible, but then bring other men and women along the way. That is my purpose. That is my calling. My calling is to help and coach and just help manifest this in others, because it gives me a tremendous sense of pride and satisfaction that not only am I doing amazing things with myself, but I'm helping to shift and create amazing lives for those that I coach. And I really, really love that. I feel my self-worth is so powerful, and what I bring to the table is so powerful that it is my gift and it is my purpose, and it's my duty to do it at the highest level possible. And to do that, I need to keep improving to become the highest level version of me each and every day. So again, it's been a long time since I did a recap, so I really wanted to spend some time and just think about what I was doing, think about what I've done, and then obviously now sit down and say, okay, well, how are we going to finish 25? 26 is going to be crazy because we're going to do some crazy shit. We're already planning a trip to the Arnold Classic. We already have three meets on the books that we're already promoting and stuff for powerlifting. We're going to do some really cool stuff with the clothing. We're going to start setting up booths at different events and stuff. And we're just going to tie in some really cool things into what we're doing overall so that we can be a force for positivity, a force for change, a force for just improving and being better versions of ourselves, right? That's where I'm at. So I'll talk to you guys later.